One of the most widely used and loved libraries for building user interfaces across web, mobile, desktop, and even TV, React.js powers apps that billions of people use every single day. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and LinkedIn, to name a few. While it could be as simple as including a simple script in one HTML file, very often if you pick up any React project, you could get overwhelmed. So in this video, we'll understand why we need all of this and why we couldn't just write our React code like this using plain JS without any tool around. Because as of now, to get up and running, you would need Node.js, you would need NPM, and you would need another build tool like Webpack or Vite. One of the main reasons why we need all of this tooling around React.js is because of JSX actually. So JSX is this HTML looking like syntax that you can embed in your JavaScript code, but this is not supported by any JavaScript runtime. To show you that, let me actually grab this and try to add it here where I'm using plain JavaScript. So if I save this, you see my hello world is gone. And if I inspect, you will see that I am getting this unexpected token because this is not valid JavaScript. This is JSX, a syntax that has been added by React.js to be able to write HTML looking like code in JavaScript. But why though? Why they did that? Why they couldn't just create our elements using functions like the create element from React? The problem is that as soon as you want to create something that is a little bit complex than just having a hello world, like for example here, I have a button that when it is clicked, it says clicks in the console, like what you're seeing here. I'm gonna now delete this. So this is simply for writing this functionality. And if you have nested components, it is very hard to create them using only the plain JavaScript side of React.js. And this is why they actually introduced JSX to simplify your code writing. So if I show you what we have here, actually, it's the same as what we have here. And this JSX actually gets transpiled down to its actual JavaScript version. Like this is going to be transpiled to this. And there are a lot of tools that helps you to do this transpilation. One of them that is very often used behind the scene is Babel. So Babel, as you can see, if I paste this JSX into my Babel, I see the transpiled version that is going to be sent to the browser. So as you can see, it is the same as what we actually wrote here. So with the create element. So we still could use this Babel by adding it to our index.html here and continue using React without any other build tool. Like we imported React, we could import Babel and use JSX here. But the transpilation is going to be done at runtime. Like when someone asks for your website, they are gonna get something that's going to be transpiled on the browser and then displayed, but also fetched, like as you can see here. So our browser gets the HTML, then it's gonna have to go to the internet and grab this package, then this package, then also go grab Babel, because we could include Babel here to transpile JSX, as I said, and then Babel is going to be transpiling this to JS, and then it's going to be executed by the browser. So by doing that, actually you are gonna kind of lose the benefits of React, which is being able to build websites that are very, very fast and very, very React. So this is why there is a lot of tooling that has been built around React, so that we don't have to transpile on runtime in the browser, but we transpile it beforehand. And when you are doing front-end development, there are other things that are also very important, like you should minify your code so that you strip away all these spaces and tabs that takes up some memory, so that your client load your website faster. And being able to compile JSX to JavaScript, being able to minify your code, also being able to split your code. We have what's called code splitting. Like for example, here if I have actually part of the minimization of code, like if you have some comments, they also are going to be get removed, and all your variables would be looking like one letter variables in all. And there's also something that's called code splitting, where these tools like Vite.js and Webpack, They go through your code, remove all the things that you are not using, like if you have some imports that are not being used. Now that we know that we need this tooling around, there are two tooling that are in the market. So if you pick up any React.js project in a company, it's very likely that it is built on top of Webpack with a tool that's called Create React App. But going forward, this Create React App that is using Webpack behind the scene is actually deprecated, and you shouldn't be using. And if you go to the React official documentation, they would recommend you to either use Vite or to use a meta framework. Like there are frameworks that are built on top of React to simplify further things like Node.js. But I think that as a beginner, you should first understand React before going into this framework, and also because not all projects need functionalities of this framework. So we are gonna use React as it is without any frameworks, and if we want to do that, the recommended way is to use Vite. Now that we know that, we simply go to get started, and creating a Vite project is simple as calling this command. But first you need to have Node.js installed on your computer, and if you have Node.js, you also very likely have npm because they come together. And you don't need to be expert on these, just need to install them and be able to do very simple things that you will understand as we go through the project. Now that we have cleared all of this and why we need this tooling around React, we can use Vite to instantiate our project for the first time. So we're gonna come here and we are going to if it is not very clear, things like Babel, they only transpile JavaScript, like things like JSX to JavaScript, but things like Webpack and Vite, they, for example, Webpack would use Babel, but also Webpack is going to do all the minifying things that I talked about, and also all the code splitting things I talked about. So, and Vite is kind of the newer child, but that is fast. So you just have to go to some of your folder. So for me, first, you make sure that you have Node.js. So for that you do node-v. As of now, I am on Node version 22. This is the latest version for Node. So if you go here, you're gonna see that it is now the 22, and you can install it for your operating system very easily. And then I also have npm. They come together, and then I just have to do npm create vite latest, and it is going to ask me the name of my project. So for now, I'm just gonna call it React, as I'm not very inspired. And then we're gonna, so Vite can help you actually build front-end projects across a lot of different libraries. You can also do it with plain JavaScript, HTML, and CSS by choosing vanilla, but we're going to be using React. So we're going to say React, and also we're going to say JavaScript for now, not TypeScript. And then we can go into our folder, open my Visual Studio Code. So if we look into this Vite config, as you can see, Vite is using this React plugin. So this is what helps us transpile JSX code into JavaScript. And the convention with the Vite React plugin is that any JavaScript file where the extension is JSX, they know that they should transpile them. But you could have .js files that contains JSX. That is simply because the build tool that they are using is allowing them. And also the Vite plugin allows us to do that. Just we need to add some config here. But for now, as you can see, we have this boilerplate. So npm run dev. So first we need to actually install all the things that are in our package.json. So we have React, we have React DOM. I'm going to explain the difference in a bit, but also we have some dependencies for our development. For example, we have ESLint, so that we are able to lint our project. Linting a project is the process of automatically being able to know if your code quality is good or not. So now I can actually say npm run dev, and I have some template that Vite has created for us, which are here. So we could actually delete all of this, and as you can see we have a plain hello world. And let's say that I am gonna go into my app.jsx. In here I'm gonna add some comments, so I'm gonna say lorem ipsum, so something like this. And then when we are done with our project, so we are gonna build this project. It is npm, yeah, it's npm run build. So we build it, and then we're gonna get this folder. In this folder we are gonna have a transpiled version of our React project. So our React project could be built across multiple files. Each component that we talked about in the previous video could be in one file, and we're gonna explain this in a bit. You can see everything is actually stripped down to one JS file in one CSS file, and everything is minimized. These things, nobody can read them, but since there is no space in all, the file size is smaller. And if I try to look for the comment that I made, which is my lorem ipsum, as you can see it's not there. So if I'm gonna close all of this, and also this, so this is what is generated when we build your project. So it's plain HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and this index.js along this asset, you add them on server, and you have your React project up and running. So during the development we need a lot of tooling, but after we are done, it's just simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And then we have these node modules that is coming from Node.js, where we have all the external packages. Like for example, React would need some external packages that it depends on, and these actually highlighted here. So if we look for React, so as you can see, React itself, it needs a dependency that's called CSS type, and React DOM, it needs also some dependency. So the package log, actually this is Node.js stuff, but just so that you have some understanding, you don't need to know all of this because this is a separate topic and you can learn it later. So this is for configuring our build tool, and this is for Node.js to be able to install packages like React and all. And this is the entry point of our project, our index.js, where it is including our main.jsx. So all the files, like all the small components, they are going to be transpiled to one JS file, and it's going to be included in this HTML file that you are seeing here. Actually, see, it's saying Vite plus React. So that's what you are seeing here. So we can change it to learning React. It's changed to learning React. And another thing that these build tools like Vite and Webpack help us have is to have a local development server that update your website every time you make change instantaneously. Like for example, if I go back to my here app.js and change this to hello world, as you can see, it changes instantaneously. So these build tools are very handy. They can be scary at the beginning, but you're gonna get used to them and understand them as you go through the series, but also as you work on React projects later on. And for you to be able to make the connection between what we had so far, is that actually we can simplify the project to like just to one file. So I'm gonna delete actually all of this. So also this folder. In my main, I'm gonna also delete this, and here I'm gonna simply show a hello React or hello world, and remove all of this, and then start my development server. You see, so we have hello world, and as you can see, it's just one JSX file that is looking like this, like the two are similar. It is like actually we could have here main.js and add all of this. So in here and here we're going to say that SRC is going to be index.js like this, and we have actually things that are very similar. We have one JS file, one index.html file that is including this JSX. So the two are similar, as you can see. And we can also actually get rid of this strict mode, and I'm going to explain what this is in upcoming videos. But other than that, they are the same. And all the things that you are seeing other than this main.js and index.html, they are tooling. So now you know when you pick up a React project, what is React and what is the tooling around it. And earlier we had, if I go to the other project, not this one, this one, you see actually we have a function that is being exported and it is being imported here and it is being called like this. So actually this function that you are seeing and that is called here with this syntax is actually a React component. In the first video I explained what a React component is theoretically, and that is on the code side what is a React component. So a React component, it's a JavaScript function that returns some JSX and it should start with a capital letter. Then you can call it like this by importing it in other components. You're gonna understand as we go through this, but the idea is that these functions, they are building blocks of our project, and we can, for example, have a function called button that we can have on multiple places on our website. Like for example, if you go to the actual LinkedIn page, you would see buttons that are similar on different places. These are very often the same React component behind the scene, and we are gonna understand this more in the next video.